Hi, and welcome to Matt Holman Talks Mental Health, the podcast where I have the opportunity to sit down and talk to amazing humans about their journeys with mental health. For this episode, it's no exception. I have got Rachel Williams with me to talk about her story and her experience. Welcome, Rachel.
Hello.
Hello. So, as I will always do, I will introduce Rachel how I know her. And it's a really interesting story, a very brief story, actually, because we've only known each other for less than 24 hours, I guess. It's just bizarre. I put out a small video just the day before. Rachel contacted me to share her TEDx talk. So we'll talk about that a little bit as well. And then we got talking about podcasts. And then all of a sudden, we're now doing a podcast recording because Rachel has an amazing story. And her podcast, her TEDx talk even, is called Somebody Must Go First, and it's just an amazing thing. I'll put the links to it. Everybody can check it out and watch it after this as well. But Rachel, introduce yourself. Let us know who you really are. Thank you.
Thank you. I am Rachel. I am a South Londoner, a Black South Londoner who is really tries to make a difference, especially within the Black community in regards to normalising the conversation around mental health. I myself have high functioning depression and anxiety, and I am trying to, I don't know, make it okay to have those things and be more than that. You know, that isn't what defines me. It's just something bubbling in the background. But I just want people to be able to know that I am Rachel first, and everything else makes me special.
Oh, I love that. That is so amazing. I do think, I have to say up front, and for anybody that is listening, please do check out that TEDx talk, because as soon as I watched it, I was just absolutely in love by this person who is sharing so openly some experiences and really being honest about sort of, from cultural challenges and, from the Black community challenges. And oh my days, there's so many things we're going to talk about here. But what I want to really get into, Rachel, is your story, is your journey. This is the purpose of this podcast, is to talk about your journey with mental health. You define what that means. You describe it as in whichever way you wish to. But yeah, I just want to pass that over to you. You feel free to tell us whatever you want to tell us about your story.
So, although in hindsight, I now know that, I've always had mental health issues. So I've always struggled with depression and anxiety, but I thought that that was normal. I thought that the way I was thinking, the way I was feeling, how tired I was, how anxious I was feeling, how, coming home from being out and trying to be normal with society, how drained that made me feel, I thought was normal. And it wasn't until I reached the very bottom and had nothing left and was in complete darkness that I realized that maybe something was very wrong and that needed to be addressed, and that I needed help and that I couldn't fix me by myself. Up until that point, I truly believed that I could fix myself. I truly believed that I could sort it out and that I didn't need anyone, and that, I was doing the right thing. And then when I got to the bottom and there was nothing left to hide behind or to cling on to, I had to have some difficult conversations that I hadn't had before and I hadn't seen being had before. So my journey really started from the bottom, even though it had always been there. Mental health conversations weren't being had in my household, but there were definitely other people within my family that had mental health issues. So my dad suffered from depression. My mum has anxiety. My sister has depression and anxiety. And we were all under one roof, all together, four walls.
Yeah.
No one was talking about it. And so therefore I thought that this was, people just get on with it. We just get on with it. We don't complain. We just make do. And it took a long time, and I'm still on the journey of trying something new. And it's even more important to me now to do that because I have a daughter myself. And I want the story to be different for her because it's better now for me than it has been. And it's taken too long, you know, and I don't want her journey to be as long as mine. I'd like her to start from now. She's 11 now, and we talk about mental health. And we discuss our feelings, and we try to manage our emotions and try to find healthy coping mechanisms for when we're feeling a bit low. And that's her normal, whereas that wasn't my normal.
Brilliant.
And so something had to change. And it started with me talking. It really started with me talking because when I say healthy coping, my way of coping with my depression and anxiety along the way was definitely with attempting to self-medicate with vitamins and thinking, I'm very tired, I'll get this supplement, I'll get this vitamin C and vitamin D, and Googling things and trying to figure out how do I make myself, what's a happy vitamin, and going the sun vitamin and vitamin C. It was very much vitamin D and vitamin C a lot, very promoted. And I was like, oh yeah, definitely I can fix this with that. And then feeling really tired and thinking, oh, I'll get something to help me sleep, I'll get zinc and magnesium and all of this, and nothing was working because what I really needed to do was talk to someone and just open that box and have the conversation. But when I was going to the doctors, I kind of wasn't being encouraged to speak. And it's actually a fact that people within the Black community are more likely to be medicated than to be offered talking therapies. So within the community, it's not the norm to talk about how you're feeling. And then that's kind of reinforced by the people that you're going to see to help you. So yeah, it was, even when I was going to the GP, I still thought I could fix myself because, you know, I was being told that I could sort it out. And so it was like not a double-edged sword. It was really conflicting because I needed help, but when I was going for help, I was kind of being sent away to self-help, and I couldn't help myself. I already established I couldn't help myself. And that's why I feel like it's so important to have this mental health conversation targeted towards the Black community and normalizing the conversation within the Black community, because our experience is different. Our experience in regards to mental health and the support available is different. It's not been an easy journey, but as I say, it is getting easier. And I feel like the whole system could do with being more holistic and looking at the entire person and not just the ailments, say, that they come in with. So I'd go in and say, I'm really tired, or I'd go in and say, I'm having a lot of headaches. And then they would treat that. So specifically give me pain medication for my headaches, give me sleeping, not medication, but like printouts of like how to sit, meditation, calming.
Oh, really?
You know,
You could have given
like,
a leaflet, right?
yeah, of how to sit, have a bath with some lavender, and like really what I needed was some talking therapies, you know.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I got, you know, my little printout to go home and have a bubble bath.
Really? Is that true? Did you really get a printout telling you to go home and have a bubble?
Yeah, just how
My
to, so it'd be like
God.
how to wind down, you know, how to relax. But I'm like, I've got anxiety.
Yeah. That's
I need
scary. Where was this
help.
coming from? Was this coming from the doctor?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, from the GPs.
Yeah.
And I do in my TED talk,
Yeah.
because my TED talk was a TEDx NHS talk. And I wanted to make reference to some of my experiences with the NHS, because
Yeah.
my journey has been a long one, and there have been many opportunities for someone to have helped me, or for someone to have noticed that something wasn't quite right, that weren't explored. The opportunities were missed. And because I'm not a professional, you know, I am now a mental health first aider, but I wasn't then.
Right. Yeah.
And so I didn't know what I was supposed to be looking for, because, as I say, I thought it was normal. In hindsight, I now know, you know, why there were questions that could have been asked and they weren't. And, you know, I've been through things like miscarriage. My father passed away when I was 18, and the holistic approach could have seen that maybe this person may not be okay, having just lost a baby, having just lost their father. Like, maybe we should ask some questions, because this event on its own is hard just by itself. Without them even knowing that I already had
Of course.
depression and anxiety anyway, you know. But the questions weren't being asked, the conversations weren't being had, everyone was just getting on with it. And high functioning depression looks very normal. It's very functional, and hence why it's high functioning depression. It doesn't kind of show itself till you're alone, and by that point, you know, no one's there to see what's happening. And yeah, I just don't want as many people as possible to end up in the same position that I ended up in, where I had to use everything, use every ounce of me before I had the conversations that I could have had so many years before.
Wow. That's incredible. So many parts to your story in there. I want to take a point and just sort of go back to when you can first maybe remember feeling those sort of depression, anxiety points, you know, because I'm not quite sure when you were diagnosed or what age you were diagnosed. But I know obviously you mentioned your father passing when you were 18. What was the earliest you remember sort of those feelings being present?
I think the earliest I remember is from primary school.
Okay.
And it was anxiety.
Okay.
And I think it was just referred to as me being shy. And kind of just being like, oh, she's really shy. But actually, I'm having palpitations and sweating and like really not just shy, like I'm about to pass out, like hyperventilating, because you've asked me to put up my hand or to read out loud, or, you know, it wasn't normal shyness. It was a lot, and it was kind of dismissed, because obviously I was small, and it's kind of a thing where what did I it would have been, what did I have to be anxious about, you know, like you're just a kid, so why would you be anxious? But I felt it. I remember it affected me all the way through school. there are many things that I wouldn't do unless I had someone with me.
Right.
I wouldn't go like round the block near to where, like, if we were going to go and get sweets and things, I needed a chaperone. Like, I needed someone to be with me. This is in secondary school, so
Right.
you know, like teen, I wouldn't do things by myself. One of the biggest things that happened to me due to anxiety and depression, because the anxiety would make me feel depressed, was that I actually failed my English GCSEs.
Right.
And I know that it was because I didn't want to ask questions. I didn't want to ask. If I didn't understand, then I didn't understand, and I wasn't going to make a show of myself and make a scene and put my hand up. I just would not ask because it just made me feel ill, and I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't, and I didn't tell anyone. I just didn't talk about it. And even when I failed, I didn't tell anyone. I just done a reset and kept really quiet about it because I was able to do it again. And yeah, I just didn't say anything. But that's just not normal.
No.
That's just not, it's just not normal.
But it was your anxiety, isn't it? It's the anxiety and the fear of what that means if other people found out about it as well, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, because I knew that I could have done it. I love writing, and I mean I did pass in the end.
Yeah.
But I went through that whole
Wow.
thing by myself because I'm not going to tell anyone. I'm just not going to do it.
No. And when did you? So when were you diagnosed with depression, anxiety, high functioning? Both of them, obviously. When was that?
That was not that long. Not that long ago, actually.
Okay.
So maybe I can't remember the year exactly. I feel like it.
Don't worry, there's been some strange things going on.
Yeah, there has.
Yeah. We're not sure what year it is.
I feel like I might have been. It might be like 2016.
Okay.
Where things, where I got diagnosed,
Mhm.
but I didn't accept it until the second time.
Right, got you. Yeah, first one's a failure, right? Doesn't work.
Yeah, I was like, no, you're wrong. But I'm fine. And they let me go, you know. And I said, don't put that on my. My GP was going to sign me off work because it got really bad, and they wanted to sign me off for 2 weeks, and I said no. And they was like, I really think you need 2 weeks minimum, and I was like, no. And I said, don't put depression or anxiety on my sick certificate. So they just wrote stress, like literally just that one word.
Yeah.
And 7 days, and she told me to come back after the 7 days before going back to work, and I just didn't go back. And that was in the summer. And then in the winter of that same year, it got too much again. And that time I was just too tired to argue with what they were saying.
Yeah.
And I just accepted it. But I kind of knew, but just didn't want to know. So
yeah,
it was hard. I sat in the car and I cried with my sick certificate, and then I text my manager. I didn't phone because I didn't want to say it, and I just took a picture of the sick certificate and I sent a text message because I couldn't even verbalize what I'd just been told, because I still hadn't accepted it, not really. But I didn't know what else to do. They'd given me my prescription for antidepressants. They'd given me a card for talking therapies, and I didn't know what else to do because nothing else was working. There was literally the only reason I took the medication and rang talking therapies was because I had no other tools left to use.
Yeah.
And I just don't want that for my daughter.
No.
And I don't want that for as many other people that I can reach, because it was terrible to get there. And after speaking and realizing what a weight it was to take off of my shoulders, and although it wasn't, oh, all of a sudden everything's sunshine and roses, it was just so much better.
Yeah.
And I just thought, why didn't I do this before? Why have I been struggling for so long? And all I needed to do was say something. And it had felt so hard before.
Yeah.
So now I just talk about it all the time.
No, they can't stop it. No, there's no lid to put back on them. But brilliant, honestly, brilliant. Well done, you. So I'm so proud of you for being open and being able to say those words and to be honest with people. I think this is the thing that I'm finding more of in these podcasts and listening to people's stories is, the vulnerability element seems to be sort of dissipating a little bit, where people feel it's okay now to talk about this. And actually, when I talk about it, there's a lot of support to it. And there will always be the haters out there that will say it doesn't impact me, it doesn't, I'm fine. But the reality is we all struggle at times, right? We all have our worries, our moments, and sometimes we've lived with those struggles for a very, very long time, and it is sometimes hard to open up. From a community perspective, obviously you're very proud in terms of you want to help your community, you want to support more people to talk about mental health. How can you do that? What are you doing? Are you actively pursuing things to support more conversations? What are you doing? Obviously you've done a TEDx talk, so that's out there, and please, it's anybody listening, please do watch it. I will make sure we share. But so what else can you do?
So I myself, and for anyone listening, I'm just starting with me.
Okay.
It is a community issue. It's something that is changing.
Yeah.
It is definitely improved over the years and with the younger generations coming through. But it's a community, and we can't expect to change the whole community generations by ourselves. It's just, that's too much. And I just think that if each of us start with ourselves and create that ripple effect, that's what's going to make the biggest difference.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to start conversations about mental health in any way that I personally can. So, for example, within my workplace, I am a Speaking Up advocate, and I am an inclusion agent, and I am a mental health first aider. I took the opportunity to do the TEDx NHS TED Talk.
Yeah.
And I speak at home with my daughter, and I hear her having conversations with her friends. So it's going across into her school and into her friendship group. I speak with my friends, my family, and it spreads out in that way. So in each of my roles within my workplace, in my role as a mother, in my role as a friend, I'm trying to normalize the conversation and talk about my own experiences as much as possible whenever I feel able to, because sometimes I'm human, and sometimes it's heavy and sometimes I can't, and that's going to be the same for a lot of people. But whenever I can, I talk about it. I talk about my experience and how I feel and what's been going on, and share as much as I feel safe to, so that other people can see that they're not alone. And that is what my aim is for more people to not feel alone. And even I don't know how many people I can make not feel alone, but even if it was just 2 people that didn't feel alone and felt able to share their story with 3 more people, and then those 3 people shared their story, then I feel that I've done something. And I want it to be normal. I want it to be organic. I don't necessarily need to be that shining star beacon on the, like, above everyone. I just want it to be normal and start the ripple, and that's what I'm trying to do within my community. Start with me, start with my household, start with myself, and then I'll be able to help more people. I think if I start with me, I think I'll be more successful in making a difference.
Well, I love everything you're saying, and I think you're absolutely right. If you start with me, that's the key, isn't it? And the ripple conversation. So many other areas we could talk about ripple and suicide prevention and all the sort of semicolon piece. And I know you talk about that in your TEDx. So I'm not going to spoil it. I'll let people go and listen to it. But I think the thing is, standing in the middle of the crowd is also a really important position, isn't it? And perspective. You said about, don't want to be above it, but we don't need to be, because actually being in the crowd and just being a normal human being is so important. And if we stand in the crowd, we can share that whisper with some people who then share it with others, and the ripple effect starts to form, doesn't it? So we don't have to be anything other than just normal everyday human beings. You said sometimes you're human. I want to pick you up on that and correct you, because you are a human being all the time. You are not a machine. You are not a robot. You are an amazing human being. And like everybody, actually, it's this realization that, we're humans all of the time. We can't park the human elements of our worlds. We are emotional machines. We're made of all these different wonderful complex ingredients, and we're all unique, and we're all humans. That's what we are first. So irrespective of everything else that we think we are, with labels that society puts upon us, human beings are the ones that are struggling. That's what it's all about. And this is just an incredible conversation. It really is. I knew it was going to be. I was so excited to talk to you as well, Rachel. You know that. We've got a couple more minutes because we are coming right towards the end of this, but I'll just say thank you to you now. I'm going to pass it to you. Give your final thoughts, insights, words of wisdom, because you may have 1 or 2 that you want to impart. Please do. And encouraging more people to talk is, that's what this is all about. You've been amazing, and I knew it would be the case, of course. But yeah, just throw it over to you. Any final thoughts or words?
Well, I'd like to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to continue the conversation. As I said, my aim is to start the conversation and have more people start the conversation, normalize the conversation around mental health. And in regards to being human, I'd say that my words of wisdom would be, when you need to, take a minute and pause. Just pause for a second and focus on you. Focus on yourself. Think about what do you need? Recharge. Sometimes it can feel like you just want everything to stop. Sometimes things can feel really heavy, but I just want to encourage people to take a moment and just pause for a second, because you don't have to be going on 100% all the time. You don't have to think that you can fix everything. You don't have to think that you can go from feeling sad to all of a sudden feeling over the moon just because that's what you feel you're supposed to be able to do. Sometimes you just need to just pause for a minute, have a moment, and then come back. And if all you have is 3%, then that's it. That's enough. It's enough. And you go with your 3% because that is your all. That's your everything. And that's good enough. You don't need to push yourself beyond that. Give yourself a second to recharge and reset, and you will be okay. It does get better, but it takes some time. So give yourself that time that would be my words of wisdom. Don't rush it. Don't rush yourself. Take time.
Brilliant. No, wonderful words of wisdom. Take time, take care of yourself, take the pause as well. I've been a massive advocate of pausing, looking after yourself, self-care, and just encouraging more of it really. And one of those self-care mechanisms is talking. And somebody must go first always, right? I just sort of throw that in there. I know you get what I mean by that, because that's the title of your TEDx talk. But it's so true though, isn't it? It just takes one person to start a conversation, and somebody must go first in those conversations. And you're so right. Totally blown away by your speech, your TEDx. I keep saying it, and I'm hoping that people are going to listen and go and give it a watch, because it is well worth an investment of 18 minutes of your time. Listen, Rachel, we're done. It's been amazing. I knew it was going to be, like I say, but for anybody that is listening, if you are struggling, if you do need a safe space, or if you do want to have a chat, you can reach out to Rachel or myself, of course, if you've got any questions. And I know, Rachel, I'm sure you're more than happy. I shouldn't say it, but I'm sure you are. Hope you are.
I am.
You are more than happy if anybody does want to ask any questions. And please, let's keep these conversations going. Let's keep talking about mental health. It's not a case of we need to talk about mental health now. It's a case of we need to continue talking about mental health. It's so important. If you are struggling, you need extra help, there are organizations, of course, that exist today to provide that extra support, confidential support and listening services. Samaritans, as I always say in these, are available for listening support. Please do feel free to call 116 123. If you're not into calling, if you don't want to pick up the phone and you do want to just reach out for some help, you can text to Shout 85258 as well. But no, there are many organizations where you can just tune in, talk to amazing humans like Rachel or myself. And we just want everybody to know it's okay to talk about mental health. So thank you, Rachel. I really do appreciate your time today. It's been lovely to meet you.
Thank you.
Thank you.